Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it. We'll talk about it inside. Hey scrappers, it is Tom and today is Wednesday, April 5th, 2023. And while we might be a day late from celebrating, my Yukon Huskies are the men's national champs. And you know what? Everyone likes to brag a little bit. So here's me bragging and wearing my 21-year-old sweatshirt that I'm very fortunate enough to still fit in. So here it is. It's nice doing some nostalgia throwback. So congrats, Yukon. Many of you may not be basketball fans, and that's all good. I wanted to throw it out there. So last 7 days of the market have been a little down. We're looking at some of the prices and we're trying to see what's going on here. So let's jump right into the steel prices. We saw the steel prices drop about $10 per ton in the last 2 weeks. We talked about that last week. We're starting to see some of the price indicators coming out in the month of April with a down market, $10 to $15 per ton off the top. Is that an over concern? No, not really. News that we heard on Monday, a couple of days ago, was that Saudi Arabia was going to be decreasing their oil production by 1 million barrels a month starting in May. That immediately increased the price of oil. That immediately is going to increase the price of gasoline and diesel. And that's going to hurt the steel markets because transportation is going to continue to be more expensive. Many of you drive pickup trucks that are powered by diesel. Many of you drive large commercial trucks powered by diesel. So you've seen firsthand how these diesel prices have outpaced the gasoline prices and have really increased a lot of the products that we see every day, both from eggs to gasoline to transportation, airline tickets, and the list continues to go on. Why do we always talk about oil and gas prices? Because they affect scrap also. Because many furnaces across the country and across the world use gas and oil and coal production to be able to refine metals. So as energy prices increase, the price of recycling and melting these metals down and making them into new cold rolled steel or whatever other grade that it is increases in price. So what is that going to mean for the scrap prices? Probably going to see a bit of a down market. Here's the good thing that I continue to see. We're having supply shortages, not just on steel, but on copper, on aluminum, and on many other forward predicting metals. So we're probably going to see these prices rebound. What I would continue to suggest, though, is sell, sell, sell. And we've said this, and many of you have had really positive comments the last few weeks about getting your materials in and selling them. One story that I did see, or one comment that I saw, was a gentleman had a trailer, and he kept the trailer at his house. He said he built some sides for it. And when he took apart pieces of steel, whether it was air conditioners or computers, he would throw the loose pieces of steel into his trailer. When the trailer was full, he would then bring it to the yard. Here's what I thought was interesting. He didn't say that he brought it to the yard when the price was high. He brought it to the yard when the trailer was full. And that's really something that you want to take away. When you get steel, it's a nuisance. And some of you had said, hey, I'm just so happy the prices are up. I just started to make money on steel again. And that's completely true. But you also need to value how much time it takes to accrue a lot of steel unless you're taking things apart. So it's just a comment that I mentioned because I try to give you guys different ideas on how to make more money with your scrap. What else is going on with the markets? Well, gold prices, yesterday went well over $2,000 an ounce. We saw gold over the last week up more than 4% to about $2,040 per ounce. That was on more recessionary fears. More people like Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan were talking about the recessionary fears and the bank turmoil may not be over. So that's one of the reasons that gold prices increased. Likewise, platinum also went up almost 5%. Platinum went up and went over the $1,000 per ounce mark for the first time in a few weeks. Another positive sign that people are putting money into precious metals as a backup opposed to in the stock market or in investing. So just things to keep in mind. We'll talk about some of those catalytic converter prices now. Platinum prices up about 5% week over week. Great sign. Palladium prices up about 3% week over week. Another great sign. Bad news, though, rhodium is down close to 11% week over week. We now have rhodium prices trading in the $6,500 to $6,800 per ounce mark. And many of you can remember it wasn't a long time ago. I believe it was May 2021 or June 2021. Rhodium hit $29,000 per ounce. So think about that, from 29,000 to, let's just call it 7,000. That's a 75% decrease over a period of less than 2 years. And even last February and March, when the Russian invasion began of Ukraine, we saw rhodium spike and then start to dip right back down. So if many of you are asking, what should I do with my cats? We've now seen a catalytic converter scrap price over the last 30 days. A national average went from about $126 per OEM cat all the way down to $105 today. That's in a 30-day period. So you're talking about a 30-day period having about a 20-25% decrease in catalytic converter prices. That's why we continue to tell you about these base metals that go into the cats, the platinums, palladiums, and the rhodiums. Now, over rrcats.com, they continue to give you 10-day price lock guarantees. They continue to give you free shipping label on all OEM catalytic converters. And if the last 30 days having a 20 to 25% price decrease isn't reason enough to sell your cats as you get them in, I'm not sure what would be, but I'd love to hear your ideas on why you may be holding your cats and how long you plan on holding them. I love seeing those comments. I try to respond to them every single week so I can learn more about what you're thinking about, opposed to my opinion from a scrapyard owner seat. That's why every week I go down into the scrapyard and I talk to customers. Hey, how's everything going? And it seems like everyone is moving at a really strong pace. And it seems online, just looking at a lot of your comments, that you're moving at a really strong pace. There's a lot of material out there. Some people have started to complain about the lack of pricing on the steel side of things. So one thing that I recommended to a couple of people were, why don't you charge for your time? So many people think that they have to do it just for the scrap and they get it for free. There are customers that will be willing to pay you for your services. I see signs all over the place: junk removal, 2 guys in a truck will get rid of your trash, free scrap metal pickup. You don't have to have everything for free. You can charge if you're removing things, especially if you're getting rid of garbage and then you get some scrap out of it. You charge for those services, and that's how you make more money. And if you joined our YouTube membership program, you'd be able to see some of the videos that we've produced for people, teaching them more about how to become a full-time scrapper or how to make money as a full-time, part-time side hustle. So these are things that you can check out. But week over week, the cat prices, while we've seen platinum and palladium up, rhodium has been down, and on a 30-day rolling average, we're down about 20-25% on catalytic converter prices. So what else has gone on in the last week? Aluminum's down about 2%, continuing to have a little bit of a decline. Nothing too crazy, as we've seen some sheet aluminum prices still in the 40 to 50 cent range, but those prices may be coming down going into the month of April, but we'll continue to keep you focused on where the markets are going week after week as we do our updates. Now, I briefly talked about copper, and everyone loves talking about their favorite red metal. Before I get into talking about copper, don't forget, at the end of this, we're going to be telling a scrap story. So if you're looking to learn more about things that have happened to me and people that I know in the past, at the end of this, we'll be talking about our scrap story of the week. Copper prices. We saw copper prices drop below $4 per pound on the trading side of things for the first time in over a month. Why is that important? Oil prices are up, pushing down some of the prices of copper. Traders are actively trading copper just like they actively trade stocks, and that's continued to really accelerate. And I've seen that accelerating more with the different volumes of copper being traded as we've moved more into this EV revolution, evolution, whatever you want it to say. The more materials that are going to be needed as more government spending goes into a lot of these EV initiatives, such as rebates for electric cars, more solar panels. Those are going to see increased demand for copper, but we haven't seen the pricing reflected as such. While we're relatively even month over month with copper prices, I think that those items are going to continue to go up in value. All of the information that I read about the supply warehouses show us that copper is still undersupplied when it comes to the warehouse side of things. Why is that important? Undersupply of copper will eventually lead to a shortage, which should lead to a price uptick. We haven't hit that point yet, but I do believe in the next 2 to 3 months that we will, as many countries and companies are still hungry for more material to come in so they can continue to make more products. How many of those products get made and sold in the second half of 2023 is going to be something that I really pay attention to, but it's going to be really interesting to see how those copper prices affect not only the scrap copper, but the brass and the insulated copper wire markets overall as an aggregate. So what else is going on? Let's talk about scrap stories. Years ago, there was a bunch of grocery chains going out of business in my area. I went and I was able to bid on a couple of them, buy a bunch of copper out of them, also buy a bunch of reuse items such as refrigerators and things like that. This story is about safety though. And we had a couple of people that were doing walkthroughs for us to scope out the areas. And one thing that I saw them do was going up in the ceilings and the rafters. Now, whenever you're working in a high area, you really want to make sure that there's a couple of things that you protect yourself with. Your ladder is secure. You want to make sure that ladder is over the roof. I saw people that were climbing up and they were just kind of holding 6-foot ladders and stepping on the top rung, which is never good. Second, they had no harnesses on. If you don't have a harness on, you can't lock into anywhere. So if you can't see very well, it's going to be hard to move around. I'm sure many of you have stories where you've gone too high up and you worry about teeter-tottering, whether it's wind or lack of something to hold on to. A harness is a very good tool. And while you may not use it often, you should use it often enough that you have it. If you ever need it one time, it's worth getting one. And at my scrapyard, we have a safety basket that we lock to our forklift. But all the guys that go in the safety basket wear a harness. So they're tied to multiple items. They're tethered, I believe that the right phrase is. And that just protects you against falling. Sometimes you can have a little bit of a chain, almost like a bungee cord. It gives you 2 to 3 foot of room to move around in. And that's another really great tool. But when the guy was up looking at all of the things that were going to get scrapped, a couple of things: didn't have lights on, wasn't watching where they were going, stepped through what they thought was just a part of a solid panel, ended up being a drop ceiling, fell through the drop ceiling, fortunately landed on their feet and didn't get hurt. But the story isn't that they didn't get hurt. It's that they didn't prevent enough things to help themselves from getting hurt. And I'm sure many of you can have these stories, whether it's about climbing something too high, lifting something too heavy, or just not doing something smart, because many of you know what the right thing to do. You just do what's quick. And one of the things that I talk about at my scrapyard is slowing down, doing things correctly the first time so you don't get hurt. Because if you get hurt, especially if you're a full-time scrapper, where are you going to get your income from? You don't have a secondary source. Now, if you're a full-time worker and a full-time part-time scrapper, if that makes sense, as many of you use scrap as a secondary income, you still want to make sure you're protecting yourself. That's why we've had videos. And if you're a member, you can check out some of our videos, or you can see some of the other videos we have on YouTube about becoming full-time scrappers, having insurance, having protection, fall protection, safety protection. These are things that, while you may not think accidents will ever happen to you, I've had pieces of material slip through my hand, fall through my boot years ago behind the steel toe. So I was wearing steel toe boots. It fell through the boot at the right angle as a triangular piece of stainless steel and went and cut my toe. And I had to get 6 stitches to keep the toe on. And it could have been more than that at the time. I just knew, don't take my foot out of my boot. And over the coming weeks, I'll talk about some classes that you may want to invest in yourself, whether they're OSHA classes, first aid classes. And a lot of people hear that phrase OSHA and they get scared, but that's what you can do to teach yourself how to be safer. And you can do online courses, OSHA 10s, OSHA 30s, just ways for you to protect yourself. So overall, the markets are still very strong. Even though we saw some declines the last week, I'm still very optimistic going into the month of April and really going into the second quarter that we're going to see a nice turnaround. I will be paying close attention to oil prices, banking information, and overall commodity shortages or oversupplies that I'll be watching in some of the LME warehouses. Scrappers, any questions? By all means, let us know. And if you're looking for more info, become a YouTube member of ours so you can get videos pushed to you that no one else sees. Until next week, I'll scrap you later.
Thanks for checking out this scrap video. For more exclusive scrap video content, please become a YouTube member of our channel today. Thank you, and I'll scrap you later.